So we had a minor setback in training, but everything is slowly starting to get back on track, and we are eyes ahead, eyes on the prize, looking forward, moving ahead, full steam. Cheers y'all, how's it going? I feel like I've been starting a lot of these videos apologizing for how long it's been since my last video, but I feel like we're all at a point now where this is just sort of expected, at least for now, as I continue to find my rhythm and find my way back into a more consistent posting and training schedule. But thought I was well overdue for a training update just to let you all know how things are going. It was actually very nice. A couple of people did reach out to me over the last week saying, hey, haven't seen you post on Strava, just want to make sure everything's all right. And so absolutely appreciate that, because it also helps give me the kick in the pants to really focus on recovery, getting better, and getting out there to continue to long miles. So thank you to those of you who did reach out. It was really helpful and really appreciated. Basically, training was going very, very strong. Everything was going well. Ran a turkey trot on Thanksgiving in Wilmington, Delaware, a race that I'd done before, a 10K, which I really enjoy. But as I remember, the elevation is a bit of a pain, where you're basically spending the first half slowly running up from the river that runs through Delaware, running up the banks, up a hill, kind of following the same course that the Delaware Marathon took when I talked about how horrible the elevation was in the first half. You're basically climbing that same hill. You get to the top right around the halfway point. You run all the way back down to the water. But then the icing on the cake is you get down to river level where you're like, all right, cool, I've reached the bottom, everything's good. But then the city is a little bit higher than the river, so the last probably like half mile, you turn and are just running up this super steep hill that you just see everyone's motivation after grinding through the 10K, finishing that first half climb, enjoying the downhill for the whole second half of the race, and then just hitting that moment where you just have to grind through one more brutal hill before you cross the finish line. But was a great race. I was actually super, super pumped with my time, cruised across the finish line, but definitely ran a lot harder than I should have. Went out to just enjoy the race, have a fun run, take it easy. But as much as I tell myself to do that in the pre-race strategy planning, that is very rarely ever the case. There is just something, I don't know if it's just the competitive nature of like having started running in cross country, so it's just built into my subconscious. But as soon as I get on the starting line, the national anthem starts, I just get in my own head and I'm like, you know what? I can grind through a really solid race if I push myself. And that's exactly what happened. Ran a lot faster than I probably should have. Was taking it somewhat easy through the first half, around like a 7.5 minute mile. So definitely harder than I had planned, but not redlining. And then we turned around to run the downhill, and I was like, hey, I bet I could make up a lot of time on this back half on the downhill, and was averaging closer to like a 7-minute mile, well below that, I think, on the downhill. I saw 6:15 pace at some point, a lot of like 6:30, 6:40. And then just grinding slowly through that last half mile. But a great race, certainly a lot of fun, built up the appetite for Thanksgiving, which is exactly what the goal of all turkey trots should be. But had a lot of fun with that race, ended it on a high note, kind of told myself, all right, I pushed myself a lot harder on that run. I was supposed to run 3 miles on Friday, and I was like, I'm just gonna take the day fully off to let my legs recover, get ready for the long run this weekend. I think I was supposed to have a 12-mile long run that weekend, and was trying to figure that out, trying to figure out scheduling that, when we were gonna do it, because we would be driving back to New York on Saturday. So did I wanna wake up early, try to get through those miles early on Saturday, but then be tired for the drive home, or just save it until Sunday? But that decision was made for me when towards the end of Friday, I just started to get that kind of tickle in the back of your throat where you know you're about to get sick. You're certainly not sick yet, but something is creeping up and just doesn't feel right. So as we were getting ready to go to bed, told my wife, I was like, I think I'm gonna wake up with like a pretty bad cold tomorrow. I just have like that scratch in the back of my throat, and it's been building for the last couple of hours. So just looking forward to getting to sleep, and then we'll assess in the morning, see how I'm feeling. Sleep Friday into Saturday was terrible, because it was basically just like anytime I woke up, tried to have water or anything, just like swallowing glass. Anytime I wasn't actively drinking, the soreness in the throat was just getting worse and worse and worse, which is pretty typical for me when I get colds. It's a lot of postnasal drip, which just really irritates the back of my throat. So it was nothing new, something I'm very used to, but something I know I definitely don't like to run much during, because I really want to focus on recovery. Because anytime I've gotten sick in the past, especially with just kind of these random colds, if I overwork at all, they just tend to linger, and it's just the ongoing symptoms. And you may notice, here we are a week plus past the first symptom showing up. I'm still very, very congested, still coughing a lot. The congestion has moved really from the head now to more chest congestion, but it has been a long road, and that's with no running at all and a lot of rest. But woke up Saturday, super, super sore throat on Saturday, so made the decision, definitely not running today. We'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. Maybe I'll go out for like a couple miles, but probably just gonna take it easy. And sure enough, I woke up Sunday feeling much better. Certainly not all the way recovered, but a lot better. The congestion was rough, but the sore throat was starting to clear. And I even made a comment to my wife, I can't believe how good I feel. Like, normally this stuff sticks around it's a few days of misery before it starts to get better, but I already feel like I'm on the upswing. Transition into Monday, decided not to run on Sunday. Transition into Monday, decide to take that day as work from home, so I don't have to worry about travel. I can just relax all day, rest a little bit more, but I'm like, I'm on the upward swing. Like, this is continuing to feel great. Cut to Monday night, and the congestion in my head builds to just splitting migraine of, I can't look at any screens, I can't look at the TV, can't think about anything. It's just pounding headaches right in the temple and behind my eyes, any kind of bright light. And it was just, the congestion was so bad. So Tuesday, took a full sick day from work, basically slept all day Tuesday. Started to feel better on Wednesday, and that, it seems like, is when the upward swing actually started to take place. Again, was testing myself for COVID most days, especially once the headache started, because it was something I was not used to, was very, very worried that that was the symptom of COVID. But as far as the tests are concerned, everything came back negative, but took a lot of days off from running, a lot of days just spent in bed. Trying to recover, certainly a setback in training, but as the week went on, the congestion moved from the head. As I mentioned, it's just chest now. It's a lot of coughing, but I don't have the fatigue that I had. I don't have the headaches that I had. I'm not just like a running faucet of mucus, but feeling a lot better and slowly starting to get back on track. So I mentioned last week I was supposed to run a 12 miler, didn't do that. And then my weekly runs is usually 6 miles, 3 miles, 6 miles on like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or split up somewhere during the week, 6, 3, 6. And then a 13 miler on the weekend. So I did not run at all during the week. Again, really just focused on trying to recover. Got to Saturday, was feeling pretty good. And I figured as long as I'm continuing to take in fluids, I can make it through the run without like really doing any damage to just like how much I'm gonna be coughing. And so decided to just test the waters, went out for a 3 mile easy jog. And then today went out and got that 12 miler done. So was happy that my legs still feel really good, even after taking off a little over a week, taking that off from running. But of course, knowing that I'm gonna have to kind of adjust what the future weeks look like. Again, my focus is on getting to the starting line of Rocky Raccoon as healthy as possible, whether that be illness healthy or also just legs healthy. Want to make sure I'm not at risk of doing any significant damage. So I'm probably gonna assess my mileage, because I know I'm due to jump up those weekly runs from 6 to 7 to 8 miles, starting to climb those as well. So I'll probably just reduce the overall mileage a little bit, try to keep the long run the same. I think I can safely jump from 12 to 14 miles in the next week without too much risk. But it's going to be kind of a lot of feeling it out, just make sure everything's going well. But happy that it doesn't seem like fitness has gone down too much. Heart rate has been an issue throughout all of training. I think it's just going to take a while for my heart rate to get back to what it was at the beginning of this year. But with every mile, it's starting to feel better. The 3 miles yesterday certainly felt brutal. Today felt a lot easier. Today was brutal for sure, the 12, but not nearly as brutal as yesterday. And so I think that just speaks to how well I'm recovering. At least the illness is starting to subside. And I think it should be easy to get back in the motions. Didn't miss too much time. And I think that's also an important reminder too, that you don't have to worry about, like, if you're not feeling well, it's okay to take some time off, take that time to recover. I think that's a much better idea than trying to grind through something that you're just gonna end up elongating by pushing yourself too much too soon. And so as long as you're not making a habit of taking time off all the time, like I was for the last few months, some time off isn't gonna hurt your fitness too bad. And it seems like it's gonna be relatively easy to get back in the swing of things, get back to where I was in training without too much of a loss. So happy to see that. But that's where I've been at. That's why if you've been following me on Strava, why I hadn't posted a run in so long. But I am slowly starting to build my way back and excited again to just continue to see that weekly mileage climb. We had a week of very low mileage the last couple weeks, given that the sickness spanned the weekend and missing one of my long runs. But back to, so what I did 15 miles this week, should be back into the mid-20s by next week, and very excited to get closer and closer to that 30-mile mark. I think once I've hit once I hit two close to 30-mile weeks is when I feel more comfortable building in like a little bit of speed work. I feel like my legs become much more adapted to training at that point, if that makes sense. Or like that's the barrier for myself where it seems like in training, once I cross that threshold, running just seems a lot more comfortable, especially these easy runs. Like it's a confidence piece because I've put in the work, and so I think internally that I can log those miles with less concern than I had during the initial build. But I also think the physical adaptation really starts to set in at that point where I've been putting in consistent mileage for several weeks, so my legs have adapted to that training load and are much more ready to take it on. But that's where I'm at, feeling pretty good, not too much time lost, and hopefully these training updates will become much more consistent, especially as we start to get closer and closer to the Rocky Raccoon 100 miler in February. I know it will be here before we know it, and although I am terrified, I can't wait to get on that starting line. So looking forward to it. As always, any questions that you have about training or planning or anything like that, let me know. One thing I'm dealing with right now is trying to figure out what trail shoes I should use. I definitely am in need of an upgrade, so if you have any recommendations, preferably looking for something with a little bit more cushion than what I'm used to. I've been running in the Ultra Lone Peaks, but I'm thinking about making a change. I looked at, I think probably the Saucony Peregrines are right up there as one of the top choices. Have also looked at a few Hoka options as well, but if you have any trail running shoes that you swear by, please drop them down in the comments below, and they might just be my race shoe for Rocky Raccoon. But thank you as always for tuning in. Truly appreciate you joining me on this journey. And until next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.